Miss Staley is not going to be able to join us tonight, so that then brings us to our sound bites of Snellville history. Mr. Ewing from the Snellville Historical Society.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. It's good to be here again. I'll start as I always do by covering what I covered last time. Left you with about 4 points. First, telephone in Snellville was in 1900, 23 years before the city charter. The second telephone, that one went defunct, by the way. The second telephone in Snellville began in 1940, 17 years after the city charter. REA sponsored Walton Electric Corporation, 1935-1936 under the FDR's New Deal program, and they brought electricity to Snellville community in 1937-38 time frame, and a major change to our lifestyle. Like most of the rest of the world, modern phones and electricity have become essential to our way of life. Tonight I want to do something a little different than I've been doing. For the last few years we've been dealing with what they refer to as a recession. So they say it's the worst since the Great Depression. I don't think the Depression was so great. I lived through it. Terrible depression, long depression, maybe. I would compare what we've just gone through with a pothole in the road compared to a complete bridge washout being a depression. You would kind of go around the pothole in the road and keep right on going, and I think that's what we've done. But I'm going to read you an article. It's written by a person that I got to know some times ago. It's not from Georgia, but it fits just as well. And I think it describes, if you'll listen very closely, what the Depression was like, and it was nothing like the last few years, I'll tell you. The legacy of the white shirt. Long before recycling was the in thing, I thought it was something you just did in order to survive. Take, for instance, my dad's white shirt. One white shirt. Farm life was hard, and there was not much money for store-bought things. Dad wore his white shirt to church every Sunday. When the collar began to get frayed, my mother would unstitch it from the shirt and turn it over and sew it back on. How many ladies in here know how to do that? Okay? Now it looked pretty good again, except Mother had washed it so often with her homemade laundry soap. How many ladies in here have made their own laundry soap? Good. I watched my mother do it. I don't know how to do it. She called it lye soap. Mother washed it so often with her homemade laundry soap that it was no longer white. After the collar was worn out again, Dad used it as a work shirt. No one cared if the collar looked warm. When the white shirt got stained or has too many holes to be patched. Anybody know what patched clothing is? I've worn many of them. Didn't hurt me a bit. Mother would cut off the buttons to reuse. I still have my mother's Singer sewing machine with the pedal, and one drawer is full of buttons that must be 75 to 80 years old. And cut the shirt into cleaning rags and smaller pieces for nose rags. When we needed to blow our nose, we would go to the top left-hand drawer of the old treadle Singer sewing machine and get a white rag. After a good blow, it was taken to the cook stove, where it was contributed to the fuel supply. The final use of the white shirt became part of the ashes. When you're making laundry soap, you put ashes in them, I know that. From which my mom would make her laundry soap on an open fire in a big copper kettle so she could, you guessed it, wash Dad's white shirt. That was written by a fellow named Clyde Seeley. Now that, gentleman, you can take that and extrapolate it to many things. That's what the Depression was like. and everybody got along because everybody else was in the same boat. We lived pretty good. Okay. The other half of the program is going to be a little different. We're going to take a short automobile ride via an 8mm home movie, circa early 1950s. Better stay over here. Circa early 1950s. The late Earl Snell was kind enough to share this short segment of an 8mm movie he made of changing Snellville, i.e. he was trying to show all the new brick homes that was being built, to send to his cousin Sonny Partee while Sonny was away in the Army doing the Korean police action. It runs less than 3 minutes. The technology of the 8mm home movie camera was not too great, and it's been converted to VHS and music added. Then the VHS is converted to DVD, so the quality is not too great, but it will give you a sense of what the city was like some 60 years ago, and especially appropriate since you're about to do the 90 year. And that was the beginning of the growth spiral. Now I'm going to play it all the way through, and it's less than 3 minutes, and then I'm going to play it through the second time and pause and point out some things in it. I think I'm going to play it. Now that starts right out here, about where the red lights are. Down on 124 now, south. Just taking pictures of all those brick buildings down there. It's the old planning plant. Looking north towards town on 124. I think that's Warren All's law office. Looking north on 124 towards town. Like 124. That's Mr. Sawyer's barn. That's the clinic, the first clinic in Snellville. That's Mayor Coper's home. Start it over again, please. Now I'm going to pause it in a couple of places to give you a little bit better explanation of some of the points there. Right off the bat, stop. That's Mr. Glad Snell's home. First Mayor of Snellville on the right. That was directly across the school from the old across the highway from the old consolidated school. Go ahead. Stop right there. That's the Methodist Church chapel that you see over there now. As it swings left, you're going to be shopping center down towards where we are right now. Looks a little different, doesn't it? These are the buildings between the Methodist Church and stop. That's the old City Hall, which was an add-on to the Snellville Consolidated School, the brick addition to Snellville Consolidated School. Go ahead. Okay, stop. That's the canning plant. I don't know if you know it or not, they had a terrible explosion in that plant at one time. 2 people were killed. That's where people would all bring in their vegetables, their fruits, beef, and what have you, as a community. And they had facilities for canning. And most anybody that lived in Snellville back here has been in that place many times. It's ran by Agriculture Department of the Consolidated High School. Go ahead. It's about where the ice cream place is down there right now. That's where it's at. Yes. They were very proud of these new brick buildings in the city. That was something new to the community. Back it up a little bit if you can, please. Remember I briefed you about the first doctors in town, some of the first ones. Stop right there. That building on the left, that little wooden building, was Dr. Smith's office. It was later used by Dr. Lee. After the doctors quit using it, it was a hot dog joint, it was a barber shop, a couple other things. Mr. Aubrey Peters Service Station, and the building to the right of it is what we referred to as the old tin garage. Go ahead. Stop. The building on the left is Mr. Pate's store. It was built. It came after the Sawyers. Go ahead. Stop right there. Far left corner, that's Mr. Sawyer's barn. You see how close into town he was. This is his home. That's the service station, Sinclair service station that you see in the painting and the drawings out there, the building. Right in back of it was Mr. Snell's store after he and Mr. Sawyer split. Just beyond it was the drugstore that was built in town. Go ahead. We're looking south on 124 now. Stop. Take a good look up 124. Mr. Sawyer's barn, there was a pass under right in back of that barn. You look over to the left how low that ground was. You see when the builders get in here and they start regrading and changing, it's hard to recognize anything anymore, but the cows went under the road over to his pasture, which ran all the way down to the branch down there. And that's 124 today. Go ahead. That's the clinic, as I mentioned a minute ago. Stop. Okay, that's, as I mentioned, that's Mr. James Cofer's home. That was one of the mayors of Snellville. And I believe, I know it was one of the first brick homes built in Snellville. May have been the first. Stop right here. Pull this up a little farther. So that's the late Mr. Raymond Williams' first home, and it's just about where old Charlie's is. Thank you for your patience on that. I have a couple of more words to say. Tonight's presentation concludes my Sound Bites of History series for you. I've covered for you about all that I can in this format. I hope it's given you a bit of the evolution of the area, the community, the city, and in turn a small understanding of our heritage. That said, I stand ready to develop and present to you as best I can any subject on local history that you may desire to see at any time. It has been a privilege, indeed an honor, to come before you some 18 to 20 presentations. I personally thank you. I thank you on behalf of the Snellville Historic Society and all its members. I hope the good relationship we have with the Historical Society and the mayor and the council and the city manager, I hope this goes on forever. Remember this, the city of Snellville is evolving every year, every month, every week, yes, every day, under your guidance and leadership. History is being written by you. Ms. Myrtle Snell Watkins, long-term teacher at the old Consolidated School, whatever, used to read a poem, and she also used it at the Alumni Association, by Adelaide Proctor. I didn't know much about it then. I didn't listen to it too well in school. I'm just going to read you a couple of things. One by one, the sands are flowing. One by one, the moments follow. Some are coming, all of you. Some are going, the older generation and those that have moved on. Now, also by Harvard graduate and Harvard professor and noted philosopher, George Santayana. Some of you may have heard of him. I found this carved in stone. We must welcome the future, remembering that soon it will too be the past. And we respect the past, remember that once it was all that was humanly possible. I just went out west and went to Harry Truman's library. And he had carved on the side of one of the buildings in his presidential library complex in Independence, Missouri, the following statement. I don't think the people in the back can see this. You can see it and read it. So I'm going to read it for the benefit of the ones in the back. The truth is all I want for history. Harry Truman. I've tried to present you the historical truth based on fact. I hope I've been successful. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ewing, thank you for all your presentations. It's important for us to know where we came from so we can know where we are going. You will be at our next council meeting, though, for the 90th celebration, and that will be kicking off hopefully a new chapter in our history. We're going to start doing filming of sound bites so that we can play that on our city website. So hopefully we'll be able to work with the Historical Society with that. So thank you for giving your time, though, to come and educate us a little bit for each council meeting. That now brings us to our committee and department reports. We have Ms. McAloon with staff.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. And I want to say I enjoyed that report, Mr. Ewan. That was pretty interesting to see the difference, how it was back in the day to now, especially not living here back in the 50s, moving here in the 70s. So it's changed since the 70s quite a bit, but it's just interesting to go back that far. Anyway, since my last report, a lot of great things have been happening in Snellville. The farmers market is doing extremely well. The market is full every Saturday, and the vendors are selling out each week. The community garden is also doing very well. They've donated over 100 pounds of produce to the Gwinnett Co-op already this season. And thank you, Councilman Emanuel for bringing that over there. Our last popcorn in the park was dampened by the rain, but did not dampen the spirits of the folks who attended. People came from all around, from Atlanta, Norcross, and neighboring cities, and joined in the fun. By the time it rained on everybody twice, many of the folks had left, but there were still many who stayed to watch the end of the movie in the rain. One of the last people to leave was a woman who said she had been to many other outdoor movies in other cities. And she said it's just nice to see all the games that are played with the kids prior to and engaging with the community. So that was pretty nice to hear. I'd like to also thank the following people who helped at the last popcorn in the park. Mayor Pro Tem Wentz was there, Councilman Bobby Howard, Stat Board member Susan Chapelier, John McAloon, and Kristen Easterling. This past Saturday night, we enjoyed the sweet sounds of Banks and Chain on the town green. Despite, again, the rain clouds all around us, we were blessed with practically a perfect evening. You would never know by the crowd that attended that rain was predicted for the night. Everyone had a great time. I'd like to thank our presenting sponsor, About Face Skincare, and our other sponsors, the Gwinnett Citizen, the La Quinta Inn, Crestwood Suites, and the City of Snellville, and all the volunteers who helped make this event possible. I'd like to thank those people who helped either set up, clean up, or both. Councilman Bobby Howard, Councilman Dave Emanuel, Councilwoman Diane Kraus, Stat Vice President Barbara Bender, Stat Board member Susan Chapelier, Marcy Ferris, Jamie Dempsey, and Kathy Emanuel. Our volunteers are the heart of this community, and we appreciate all they do to make Snellville a better place. Since I won't be reporting until the end of August, I'd like to take the opportunity to tell you about the upcoming events in August. August 17th, Popcorn in the Park at Briscoe Park, featuring Oz, the Great and Powerful, 7 to 10:30. August 24th is Live on the Lawn. It's a free outdoor concert. Metro Jazz Club will be with us. If you're not familiar with them, it's a 17-piece jazz group. They're great, draws a large crowd. That concert will actually be from 6 to 9. We'll also be celebrating that night the birthday, Snellville's 90th birthday celebration. So that'll be during the second break of the concert, so that'll be a lot of fun. So be sure to mark your calendar for August 24th. August 31st, the next weekend after the 24th, another big day in Snellville is our Star-Spangled Labor Day celebration on the town green from 3 to 9. And we'll end it by a big fireworks display, which is sponsored by E.R. Snell, Stat, and of course the City of Snellville. Please visit us at www.snellvillepride.com for more information if you'd like to become a member or if you'd like to volunteer at any of our events. And that's about it for my report. Any questions?
Thank you. Mr. Sanders, there's no city manager report tonight, is that correct?
In the interest of time, no ma'am.
That brings us to our consent agenda.